Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you back to a new episode of the AM show. Today, I am interviewing a very, very cool lady. Her name is Natasha, and she is one of the founders of the national ice cream brand Coolhaus. Welcome, Natasha.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
I am so excited to have you. And I think that starting an ice cream brand is probably one of the most exciting endeavors that anyone could choose. I mean, like, who doesn't love ice cream? And the fact
I don't want to know them if they don't.
Yeah. And the fact that you have them in so many different flavors, assortments, varieties, there's something for everyone. So today I kind of want to delve into the stuff that maybe people don't want to talk about, but because it's in association with ice cream, I'm hoping that they're going to be super excited to listen to everything you have to say.
I like that.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is branding. I want to talk about, when you started an ice cream brand, I'm sure it crossed your mind. There are thousands of ice cream brands in store shelves. What am I going to do to distinguish mine? What crossed your mind through that process and once you got to store shelves?
So, at the time that we launched, which is 10 years ago now, so kind of crazy actually, I remember walking the freezer aisle at the grocery store with Freya Streller, the other founder of the business. And I think, what we saw is there were sort of the same brands that had been sitting on shelf for decades. And they were pretty stale as far as innovation, unique flavors. It was a lot of the same things you'd seen for a long time. So we definitely sensed an opportunity to, one, create just more uniqueness in terms of that flavor experience, but also quality. There was a huge opportunity back then to really elevate quality. And that was the beginning of the time that you saw almost every category change in terms of elevating, clean ingredients and the whole kind of small batch, handcraft, artisan movement. Those were not, words that were thrown around as much back then. So I think that was a big opportunity. But in a way more importantly, actually, I think seeing the ice cream brands that were there on shelf, we just really didn't feel represented as women. These were not brands that seemed to have really any women, making the decision and leading them and being the face of them. And we didn't feel represented as millennials either. They didn't feel culturally connected to us. Ben & Jerry's is definitely an edgy brand, even though they've gotten much bigger, but that was really a brand that came out of, the 60s and more like counterculture. So I think the latter was in a way even a bigger opportunity because that's when it really gets into telling your personal story through your brand. What are people going to connect with in terms of who's behind it and how do they feel that story is special and something that they want to be part of and a culture that they want to be connected to. And I think that is something that's timeless. If you can tell a unique story through your brand, and today people really, really want to know who's behind the brand, what it is about them, what they do on the weekends, where they like to travel, what they like to eat. The more you can sort of share and be transparent, that is how people are looking to make decisions about what they're going to buy. And I also think when you have a unique story, it's truly something that can never be copied. It's a total original.
Right. And so when you guys were going through this process, did you guys have help from a branding agency or was this you guys doing it all yourselves?
So my background's actually architecture and design. Mm-hmm. So I think I found, this way to blend, two really strong passions of mine, which was design and using food to kind of as like the medium to talk about design ideas. That's kind of where I started from. And I think, for your listeners, if you can blend passions, that's where I think entrepreneurship really does become biographical, because no one's going to have that exact same take on two very specific or multiple passions that you're going to combine to create your business. So that being said, I think for me, it's something that I became interested in. And with Coolhaus, a lot of it was about bringing awareness and design to architecture, which had been really hard hit during the recession. That's when we started. But I think in a more abstract way over time, it's become using my skill set to design a brand as opposed to, traditionally architecture would be used to create buildings and spaces, which is obviously a really important job. But I think this was a great opportunity to take that and really create a visual identity and tell stories through the brand. And so I was able to really lead that process all the way through growing Coolhaus and doing the literal design myself until actually just about a year ago.
Mm-hmm. And so when you first started, how many flavors did you have?
We started with, I think, maybe 7 ice cream sandwich concepts. And then when we launched at Coachella Music Festival, we realized that we wouldn't be able to really pre-make these sandwiches for such a big event like that. It was just twice the amount of work to make the cookies, make the ice cream, put them together and store them. And then also getting them out to the desert was much more difficult. So we started scooping to order from our trucks, which is how we still do it on our trucks and at our shops. So that gave us, I think maybe 4 cookie options and the 7 ice cream options. So let's say like 11 total products to start.
Mm-hmm. And so you already mentioned one thing that has obviously stayed the same is the food truck, but along the journey, what are some things that are now completely different that customers have actually helped you decide?
I think that looking at our grocery business, which is the biggest piece of the pie, financially at this point, it's the most dollars because it's, makes the most sense to scale on a national level. There's a really interesting balance between the super unique, more edgy flavors, the ones that push the envelope. Let's say the balsamic fig and mascarpone pint, as an example, or the milkshake and fries. But if you think about the consumer and really meeting their needs, they're always going to want those classics as well. And you want to be able to deliver on those. So how can you really create those classics that are timeless in their own way, but also elevate them and make it undeniable that if you were going to choose from any vanilla, it's got to be the Coolhaus vanilla. Getting the brand loyalty and drawing people in through the more adventurous side, but then giving them something that, is going to be a staple forever. And I think, when we started, and with the trucks being such a kind of out of the box way to do retail anyway, you might be more drawn toward also the out of the box flavors. But now as we get much bigger, there's no shame in elevating those classics. And in a way, it's one of the most difficult challenges. You have the most competition, sort of like asking a chef to make a soup. You have to be able to deliver on that. So I think those are some flavors that have come to us really from seeing how people shop and what they want to buy. On the flip side, sometimes we do a crazy flavor and we think it's just going to be for a PR stunt in our shops or for an event, and consumers are so obsessed with it, or our fans are so obsessed with it, that we take it all the way to grocery and we end up scaling that, and it becomes one of our best. So I really appreciate that from customers, from fans. You can learn both how to be strong in simplicity and how to really push yourself even farther than you thought you might go.